Okay, so we were doing the very important work of Shaar, Nefesh Hachaim, Shaar Beis Perek Aleph, and missed last Thursday, so it's been a whole week. So let me just remind you of what we learned. Sometimes we read the words of davening and Shema too quickly to really figure out what it's actually telling, what the instruction is here. So we say Shema, we say V'yahavtos Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol moedecha. That's a key pasuk. We say V'hayim Shemaya Tishmal Mitzvosai Asher Anochi Mitzaveh Eschem Hayom La'ahava, again V'yahavta li'ahava Es Hashem Elokechem V'yahavtos Hashem Elokecha. So far it seems that the whole difference is singular and plural. Ula avdai, a completely new word, introducing a whole new concept, but not just ava, but avoda. B'chol levavchem, b'chol nafshechem. Again, almost a repetition of b'chol levavcha, b'chol nafshecha, but in the first case it says b'chol moedecha, and in the second paragraph it skips b'chol moedechem. So the important three components of distinction between Parsha Aleph of Kriya Shema and Parsha Beis of Kriya Shema is in Parsha Aleph, it's in singular, and there is no concept of avoda, just v'yahavta. And then when we move on to the second chapter, the second Parsha of Kriya Shema, so we have the plural, Sishma'u al mitzvosai Mitzaveh Eschem, and we introduce the idea, Hashem introduces the idea of Avdai, La'avas Hashem Lekechem Avdai, B'chol Levavchem U'B'chol Nafshechem, and leaves out Moedechem. So the question is, again, I mentioned that last week, that if you read this too quickly, you figure, okay, it's a repetition. The halacha even talks about what if you don't remember if you're in the first parsha of Kriya Shema or the second parsha of Kriya Shema. They're so similar that, this is not repetition, two completely different inyanim. The first inyan that we talk about is the inyan of ahava, Blois ahava, just plain ahava of Hashem. That's one thing. And the second inyan is is a different concept at all. Okay, we've got through the ava, now we're doing the avoda. So what we really need to understand clearly is what's ava, what's avoda. There are two words that are used often interchangeably. He's an Ohev Hashem, he's an Eved Hashem. What's an Ohev, what's an Eved? So I just before we even go further, I just want to say simple pshat, that let's say somebody has a wife or a husband that loves them, but they don't do anything. Right. Suppose you could love somebody anyway, that's ava without avoda. Let's say, lahavdil, person buys a slave on the slave market 1,000 years ago, and the slave is a loyal slave that mamish loves you, makayim v'yahavta, but he doesn't do anything. So there's no avoda. Avoda means work, worship. Worship and work is the same word. So there's a possibility, says the Torah, of ava b'li avoda. There's also a possibility of avoda b'li ava. Somebody does the job. So the first chapter of Kriya Shema is telling us V'yahavtos Hashem Elokecha. V'yahavtos Hashem Elokecha in halach is machayiv great things. What is ava? Just ava, pure concept of ava. What does it mean? Afilu noitelos nafshecha. Ava means, especially if it's with all your heart, if I love you and you and you and you, so how can I have a whole heart for everybody? When it comes to Hashem, I have to start making dinim, like, I love you, but this comes first, and that comes that, I love you, but once you have ava b'chol levavcha, b'chol nafshecha, b'chol moedecha, if there's such an idea, if you could imagine, just like this ava, the only thing it could mean doesn't mean that to the exclusion of all else, because you're meant to love, let's say, other Jews.
Well, there is such a law in the basement, and the person has to give a kiss. to someone else.
So let me just, I'm going to get mixed up. So what is the bechina of ava b'chol levavcha? That ava is higher than all other avos. It's not to the exclusion of other avos. It's simply a case of I love you very much, but I love God more. And I love myself very much, but I love God more. Therefore, if somebody tells me to worship Avodah Zarah as much as I love myself, and I even love my family, meaning, what are you doing here? You're going to go be Moshe Nefesh, you're going to go kill yourself, who's going to support your family? That's the din. The din is, okay, I love you, but I love Hashem more. So b'yahavta, it's a tremendous din, it's a tremendous chiddush. B'yahavta, that ava has to come before all other avos, and that's what the Gemara learns from this. If you love yourself more than you love Hashem, no good. Let's say a person, your money or your life, So the decision should be clear. I love my money, I love my life, but I love Hashem more. And so the ava is mechayev anything. But this is what's interesting about this is we're not talking about necessarily. We're talking about the natural outcome of ahava. If I'm willing to take a bullet, that's the natural outcome of ahava. That's not worship. That's not avodah. You hear this? This is not avodah. This is just ahava.
Like we said, Yaakov said Kriya Shema. He said Shema when he said Yesu.
All the Torahs. Everybody has. I mean, Baruch Hashem. Like I know I'm saying good when everybody thinks of another Dvar Torah. But just let me just do this because I don't want to get lost. Ava is a mitzvah of Yichud Hashem. Yichud Hashem is that there's something that's higher than every other thing that I love. On a practical level, on a very practical level, I'd love to have a cup of coffee with milk now. However, thank you. You read my mind.
I drank.
However, I had fleischiks. I didn't. I had fleischiks. So now I have to ask myself: do I love myself more, or do I love Hashem more and His Torah and His mitzvahs? And the answer is, like all of us in the room, I'm not going to have that milk in my coffee. I'm not going to do it as much as I love it. Of course, nobody loves coffee, nobody loves fish, nobody loves, otherwise you wouldn't eat it. But you love yourself. But the shaila is, do you love yourself? And it's by the way, everyone, with me it's coffee. Everybody it's something else. Like there's a bechina of avas atzmai which comes into strong competition with avas Hashem. Everyone's got theirs. What are you willing to do? But this is, what are we willing to do? I gave the mashal on Sunday. I said to my Rebbe, it's difficult for me to ask people for money for tzedakah. Difficult, very difficult. I don't like doing it. So he said that's just because your avas atzma is higher than your avas Hashem. Simple as that. If your avas Hashem was bigger than your avas atzma, then okay, you don't like it, but you do it. You just you don't put milk in your coffee. You ask people, you do whatever you got to do. That's what ava. If I love you so much, I'll do it. If chas v'shalom, somebody has a loved one that's sick, they wouldn't give b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol v'ydecha. You wouldn't give them a kidney, even your life or all your money, if it's going to help somebody you love. Of course you would. That's ava. That's ava. Here we're talking about the second parsha of Kriya Shema, which is what Shaar Beis is about, is all about la'avdai. Now you have this ava already. What's the next step? La'avdai. What does it mean to worship? What does it mean? What is the translation of the word? I looked just this morning. I happened to look in Rav Hirsch, who, as always, has about 4 pages on this word la'avdai. But I just underlined the operating sentence here. Avoda is the active furthering of God's purpose on earth. Gewaldig. So well said. Active, integrate the sentence. Active furthering of God's purpose on earth. So here's my thing, that I love Hashem, so what? I'm not doing anything. So now if I'm an Eved Hashem, so what was I hired for? What was I created for? What was I purchased for? If you're an Eved, to do what? To be an Eved Hashem. What was this? just to be religious? That's not avdus chayra. So the answer is, says Rav Hirsch beautifully, that I have to ask myself, as an Eved, it's wonderful you love your master, but we're past that was Shaar Aleph, how that works. Am I actually furthering God's purpose in this world? He created a world, He created it for a reason. Let's say the easy reason is that He wanted a dira b'tachtonim, which we've explained many times, means that the ultimate completion of Ruchnius is when it comes to Malchus, when it can manifest itself b'hai alma. If it can't get all the way down to this world, the example often brought is I want to give tzedakah, I put aside money for tzedakah, I create a special foundation to give money for tzedakah, but the tzedakah is never given. With all the bureaucracy, the tzedakah is never given. So what happens? There's something chaser by tzedakah. Not only something's chaser, it's not tzedakah. I can do machshava tov with all the ahava. It never came to Labaisa. If it doesn't come, so if HaKadosh Baruch Hu has all of the holy, wonderful chesed and gvura and tiferes and wonderful things, but it never comes to us, to this world of ahava, meaning if it never comes to the world, to the brios, to make this into a Makom Kadosh, to make the Beis HaMikdash into a Makom Kadosh, so what good is all that holiness if it's not complete? Until something comes to the world of Asiya, it's not complete. So now we have to ask ourselves, this is a very, very important question, in terms of being an Eved Hashem, what am I actually doing to further the purpose? If I was created for this, Hashem wanted a dira b'tachtonim, He created a world, and He created me. So He created me to further the objective of making a dira b'tachtonim. What am I doing about that? What am I doing about surviving? I'm loving Him. What am I actually doing? So this is what the second chapter of Kriya Shema is introducing. You did your Ava thing, you've got that clear. Now, let's do something else. B'chol lebavcha v'chol nafshecha, or b'chol lebavchem v'chol nafshechem. And this is plural probably because this is not individual. This is everybody. Everybody was created for this one purpose. There is nobody who was created. There's no, as I said yesterday, there's no extras in this movie. Nothing. So la'avos Hashem Elokeichem ula'avdai b'chol lebavchem u'b'chol nafshechem. The Nefesh Hachaim takes it even deeper. It's even deeper than asking ourselves. Not doing anything is not doing anything. Figuring out and asking ourselves, what should I be doing now as an Eved? What's my job? You come to work in a company, what's my job? You're born into this world, what's my job? What's my job? What's my avoida? Avoida means work, yeah? So that's a very deep level. Just before I get to Nefesh Hachaim, it's interesting because it just leads us right into Reb Tzadok HaKohen. Reb Tzadok HaKohen says this Yesod in many places, but one of them he says in Resisei Laila, and he says, based on this Gemara, the Gemara says in Tainis Beis Amud Aleph again, what does it mean la'avdai b'chol levavchem? Avoida, this is the Gemara. Avoida means karbanos generally. What am I doing as an Eved Hashem? I'm bringing karbanos. La'avdai b'chol levavchem, how do you bring karbanos in your life? That's the question of the Gemara. La'avdai b'chol levavchem. What? Ezu avoida shebalei. Where do we find that we can bring karbanos with our life? Habe Omer, says the Gemara, it's a brisa, zu tefillah. So tefillah, again, an avoida is not ava, that's an active, you're actually doing something, you're taking your ava a step further. And apparently tefillah also has that aspect of avoida to it. You start off thinking, well, it's not really karbanos, but maybe it's the best we can do. And we'll end off thinking that's even better. It's even better than karbanos. But how does it work? What's the step of avoida? So he says here, tefillah ikara b'leiv. This is in Resisei Laila Oishud Beis. Avodah shibalev zu tefillah. V'chein am espalel. The Gemara says in Brachos, tzarich shichavein as liboy. So again, let's not lose the translation of kavanah because it's going to come up over and over again. Kavanah can simply mean I understand what I'm reading. That's also kavanah, but that's not what the word kavanah means. L'chavein is like when you're aiming a gun. You're mechavein. Kavanah means that you're aiming, you're focusing, you're maked in a certain way. It's not just like I'm focused. So tzarich shechaven eslipai, meaning you can be mispalel like a carbon. You can just bring a carbon and your heart is not there at all. Just doing your thing, So everybody around here is bringing a carbon. I'll also bring a carbon. Carbon Pesach, everybody's doing it, so do it. Just bring the carbon. I don't know if you did something, you didn't do something. That depends on the machlokes whether mitzvah strichas kavanah, mitzvah zayin strichas kavanah. But over here, if you're doing it with your lave, seems to me, if the whole carbon you're bringing is with your lave, you do it without kavanah. So it's not that you're doing a mitzvah without kavanah. It's like if you're down without kavanah, it's not like you're doing the mitzvah, you're bringing the carbon without kavanah. The whole thing is the kavanah. It's like bringing a carbon without an animal. Like the chefza shel mitzvah is the lave. That's where the carbon is being brought. So person davids without kivun. So it's not that you david without kavanahs. So dish david, right? You didn't do anything. What did you do? What did you do? You said words. Saying words is not tefillah because tefillah is called avodah shebalev. So saying words is not davening. You chuckle. Okay, that's good for your back. But what did you do in terms of avodah shebalev? You did nothing with your lave. Nothing. So it's not like you daven without kavanah. You daven, right? Right? The logic is right. So therefore, says the Gemara, mispalo tzarich shechaven asli by brachas lamed aleph amud aleph. So he says as follows. Torah, let's make a distinction between Torah and tefillah. So, the Welt always says, Torah, Hashem talks to us. Tefillah, we're talking to Hashem. Right? So that's something more than that. Torah, kifi hanira, ikara b'moyach. Torah is happening here, in our brain. We're understanding something, we're learning something, Avalandam of action, but even when we learn Torah, we say, V'sein b'libeinu lahavinu lahaskil lishmaya lomay lami lishmaya. Put it in our heart. So it means the simple pshat, avarabba, which we say dafka before Kriya Shema. But the simple pshat is that, okay, we learned. Now, sein b'libeinu. So say it in our simple words, integrate. Bring it down one step further into this earth. You see where we're going here? There's the Rosh, and then the Lave, which Hashem put one step down. Bring it down. By integrating, this is just so gewaldig, what Reb Tzadok says here. By Torah, okay, you've absorbed the knowledge into your head. I'm learning Torah, walking around with a gewaldige chakira from the Briskerov. Well, extremely important. Doesn't even begin without Torah. Nothing begins. But this is like, okay, you have the Eved. I love you. Thank you for buying me. Thank you for creating me. I love you. Okay, let me explain to you your job description. Right? Here's the paper. Gewaldig, such beautiful poetry, such beautiful language you have. You go, shut up and do something. You write so well. I could even figure out in this work description all the gematrias. It works on 4 different levels. Gewaldig. And if I take away the spaces in the work description, it works in a different way. And I could be mefalpel in this, min ha-boker ad ha'arev. So am I yet an Eved? No. I'm a Charusa of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not an Eved. Very nice. Thank you for appreciating my wonderful Torah. That's wonderful. Wonderful. It doesn't begin without Torah. You got to read it, and you got to know it, and you have to understand it in the deepest way. But this is not avodah. So what happens? Torah kafi anira ikara bamoach. Avlanu mevakshim. The same belibenu bina. Bina. What's bina? Ki yadua yesh chachma, yesh bina. Moicha v'liba. Chachma bina in the keser of the spheroids. Chachma bina, let's do it the Chabad way. Chachma bina das. Make it easier. Or keser chachma bina. It makes no difference. Because chachma bina. What's chachma? What's bina? Chachma hi klolei divrei Torah. Chachma, wisdom. It's like bites of information. I have it. Hamfurashim. Ubina, and bina is a function of the lave. Bina hi hispainus davar mitaych davar hamafurish ladainu lohayros b'shas ma'isa. See, to be a posek, to be a posek, you can't be an academic only. You have to understand it as well as an academic, but you can't just be an academic, and most academics are not poskim. You talk in the whole world like that. I mean, if somebody try to just somebody has a PhD in psychology, they're not a therapist. This is a different type of an interaction. So chachma bina. Chachma is I have the actual pieces, the particles of wisdom, and bina is mevin davar mitoich davar. Bina means mevin davar mitoich davar. From that I can extrapolate the following. From that I can bring it all the way down to earth, and that's where Hashem wants it to be. So the bina is really taking the Torah and bringing it to a place where Hashem wants to be. It was the purpose of the Torah to begin with. If it just stays here, nice, but you've read it, but you didn't do anything about it. You didn't act upon it. So bina is already making things move. Chachma hi klolei divrei Torah Amfurashim. Ubina, isn't this fundamental? Ubina hu hispainus davar mitaych davar amafurish ladain ulahayros b'shas ma'isa. It's that posek who has the bina that can apply the chachma to your situation or the situation at hand. That takes bina, but that's such an amazing, it's not just a practical type of a guy. This is somebody who can bring all of that ruchnius into this world exactly where it's supposed to land, exactly where it's supposed to be. V'chein matzinu b'loshen chachomim b'Sanhedrin. The Gemara says in Sanhedrin, Lamed Hey Amid Aleph, Libi de insha. Libi de insha. If you want to know what is the person, it's his heart. Because what a person knows, look, we've all seen this. People know gewaldige things, and yet they don't do anything. They know. Says, I talk once in a while, like to kids, teenagers, so I'm telling them things, and they try to be nice, but I tell them things, and they say, yeah, I know. Do something. I know. Like, they do know. They know in a way better. They went to better chadorim than I went to, so they know. In fact, they know. But to take the know and to integrate it, to go from chachma to bina.
But you're referring to three spheros, yeah? Am I correct in saying we discussed that the SS spheros are all in the world of Asiya? That's correct.
That's correct.
Everything that's happening here is in the world of Asiya.
Also, each world has SS spheres. Means what? That the Torah has to come down into the lake. See, like, as opposed to what the normal way of thinking, Rachman Ali Babai, like have a heart. Have some feeling. No. Rachman Ali Babai, the Torah has to be mishtalshel to the makam of Chachma, has to be mishtalshel to the makam of Bina, which is Balev. Liba de insha. Chachma Bina, says the Zayar, hem train rei and delay misparshin. It's like Trey Ray and Delay Misparshin. It's like two limbs. One is doing one thing. Like Torah, the word Torah, he says, was Givaldi. The word Torah, the word means like a morah. Torah. Torah nikarak mashamayra laleif. The Torah is the word means that it's giving instruction to the leif. But you see, if you have like hardening of the arteries, you're blocked. it can't get from the lave, from the brain to the lave. This is an illness, by the way. Like some people, maybe, I'm not a psychologist, but some people, even because of different traumas they've experienced and things, they can know things, you can explain things to them, they can understand it, they can take a test and get 100 on the test, and then go out and kill somebody because there's a blockage. You know, it's such a big thing to be able to remove the blockage from the Torah is full of this language. Vasi roisi is leva even me libchem. Let's take off the stone, pick up the stone. 100 metaphors in the Torah itself about getting the flow from the heart to the. This takes a lot of thought, a lot of meditation, I think.
The Chacham being a Das model. What's the Das part? What would be the next?
Das is the integration.
Integration.
Das is that place. The reason why the Balatanya flips it, which is no machlekes at all, they're just saying two different things, is that in other words, Keser Chachma, it's just a triangle. So either the triangle goes like this or the triangle goes like this. It doesn't make any difference really. But Das is the toggle point, is that the right word? Between is the connector between the Chachma and the Bina. Das brings it into the world of activation, which is Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus. It all comes. It's a flow. Sometimes you learn these sort of Kabbalistic things, and it doesn't mean it if you say so. I'll take it. This means so much because we know everything starts with a yediyah. But you can give 100 yediyahs. Rav Tursky said, he was talking a couple of weeks ago to the boys in Torah Shaga, he's like, the difference between the mind and the heart is the mind is limited, the heart has no limits.
The distance between the two is very...
Yeah. The mind what's the capacity of the mind? It's like a genius. Let's say, they tell us when we're kids that even Einstein only used 10% of his mind or 5% of his mind or whatever it was. So it's gigantic what you can do, but it's still limited. It's still limited. There are things, no matter how hard, no matter how smart you are, you will not be able to explain a color to somebody who's colorblind and can never saw that color. You're not going to be able to explain a sunrise or a sunset to a person who's blind from birth. But because the mind is limited, but the mind it's limited to experience. It's limited to, this cognitive process. But when you talk about the heart, it's unlimited because can you feel it? Can you convey the feeling of a sunrise? Can you convey the inspiration? Can you say the color makes me feel happy? Can you convey happiness? Yes. So the lave has no limits to it at all, limitless. So now we're taking it from the place of limited, chachma, bina, processing, taking it to das, bringing it to the world. This is so important for what we're learning. This is avoda. Avoda brings a number of examples. I don't want to use all the time allotted to me. But the Gemara says there's a couple of Gemaras. The Gemara says, and this is the beauty of Reb Tzadok, why everything is backed up by 5-6 Gemaras. Like there's no. Oimer ein lo ela Torah av Torah ein lo. Something you hear. Like, I don't know about all that stuff. I learn Torah, that's what I do. I'm a lamdan. So on this, the Gemara says, we hear this all the time. Like, I don't know. I don't know any of that stuff. I'm not a makubal. Af Torah ein lo. Because Oimer ein lo ela Torah, if it's true that all you have is the Torah, then you have nothing. If the Torah didn't go anywhere, then you have nothing. It's chinuch, like kids. It's beautiful. They can recite and say and play mishnayos, achol lefi hakisharin. But to understand, to integrate a piece of Torah, you have to be zoicha. See, the Gemara says, "Afal pi sheyodea divrei Torah nikra ksil." You can be called a fool. Yodea divrei Torah nikra ksil. Seen that too. A person have a lot of Torah and is a fool. Why is he a fool? Because he didn't learn anything from everything that he learned. Never went through the process of bina. What does it mean tachlis? You can take a look at this with Sisi Laila. What does it mean tachlistic? That we find that we find a whole new understanding of tefillah based on a simple concept that Rav Hirsch says, now I'm acting with my aptus, doing something. Doing what? What are you doing? So what am I doing? I didn't even say anything yet. I didn't do anything yet. I'm davening Shemona Esrei. What you're actually doing when you daven is you're taking the Torah that you know and that you learned, and you're bringing it into this world. Shazu kol hatachlis. Whereas the avodah of tefillah, just think about the avodah of karbanos. I'm actualizing that which I know. Of course, you have to do it with kavanah. Avodah of tefillah is the same thing. You imagine a tapping into a flow, which is doing nobody any good, and by me davening, I'm actually bringing it into this world, and I didn't do anything yet. I didn't say anything to anybody. That's later. You're doing mitzvahs. But just the fact that I'm davening, I'm bringing a shefa of Kedushas Hashem into this world, onto itself as an accomplishment, because now I'm no longer an academic, I've brought it into myself. That's the same b'libeinu bina, lahavinu, lahaskil, lishmaya, lilmaid, ve lasois. Now I'm doing everything with kavanah. When I'm doing something.
Changes the world. Just that academic
But just say deeply, meaning think it deeply. That in other words, the act of davening is I'm actually taking something. Let's say davening without Torah. So what are you integrating? It's hard to know. But if you have some Torah, sure everybody has some Torah, and you can activate it. You can actually bring it through to the world with bina. Then you've accomplished this fantastic task of bringing the Shechina l'tachtainim, making a Kodesh Baruch Hu's dira b'tachtainim. Just the davening itself. Change the world.
The first part you say, Abba, don't we also say it's Ol Malchut Shemayim?
Again, Ol Malchut Shemayim is I've accepted the Ol, but I still haven't done anything. So the avodah, what we've worked is now in 3 steps. The avodah is the ability to take it and actually, what am I supposed to be doing? I'm an Eved. What am I supposed to be doing? So make this happen. Let me give one more mashal. Like let's say you're an Eved to try to articulate and bring into the world a certain idea that I have. Let's say that your master is the visionary, and you're the one who's supposed to bring it tachlis into this world. Understanding the vision is the first step. Integrating the vision is the second step. But the main thing is bringing it into this world. Make the model, make the product, sell it. And this light, which comes from the highest place, if it gets stuck in my brain, it gives light to no one, not even to myself, and you're not bringing any light into this world. By bringing it into myself, I become the light. I become the light. We glow. See, every Jew has to glow, and when they glow, then they become an Or L'Amin. If you don't glow, then how are you giving out any light?
What if Modecha is relevant to the Ahava, but not to Avodah?
Modecha is what I give up, but it's not something that I'm using to accomplish this goal necessarily. That's what Nefesh Hachaim says. I'm not necessarily using it. Hirsch says the same thing, by the way. I'm not necessarily using it to integrate. You don't integrate. You integrate with your Lev and Nefesh. That's where the integration comes in. So let's read this inside a little bit. V'hinei mashenamar b'chol levavchem al inyan hatfilah u'pashut u'mavur kavonas hakosav l'shnei inyanim. We have to explain this 2 ways. Ha'echad hainu lefanois or lefanois probably liboy mitirdois hamachshavos. we're talking about, I was reading a story, I'll just end with this sentence in the story, but I was reading a story by someone who's, I wish I had it here, I would read it to you, it's such a cute story. But there was a university professor of Judaic studies, Judaic history, and Kabbalah. He's a professor, and he decided he wants to visit, I believe it was the Am Shenover Rebbe, Kodesh, Ish Kodesh. So he came into the Am Shenover Rebbe, he explains how he was waiting in line, it was 2 a.m, and he's waiting and waiting and waiting, and a whole line of people before him, and he had no idea why he's sitting there, why he's bothering to do this, but something was compelling him to do it. And the shamus calls him, come in, and he sits there, and the Rebbe said to him, what do you do? He said, I teach. What do you teach? So he said, I teach. I don't know why he said this. He taught a lot of things, but he says, I teach Jewish meditation. So the Rebbe says, meditatia. So the Rebbe says, what's meditatia? And this guy says, what am I doing here? He doesn't even know, like, the basics of, who is this guy? So he says, what's meditatia? So this fellow said, meditation is where I'm able to take my physical body and bring myself up to the world of the angels and speak with the angels and work all the way up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That was his taich. Good. And the Rebbe waved his hand. He says to him, Shtuyot. He says, let me tell you something. He says, Vayera Elav Hashem Be'loinei Mamre. Avram was sitting at the Pesach of his Ohel. What was he doing there? So the fellow said, well, he's waiting for guests. He says, he was meditating. He was meditating. Vayera Elav Hashem, and Hashem came to him. He didn't climb up where the angels are. Wasn't his job, Avraham Avinu. He didn't go and dance with the angels and speak with the Shekhinah and stand in front of the Kisei HaKavod. He brought HaKadosh Baruch Hu into his tent. And he says that the meditatio of a Jew is to be like Avraham Avinu, not to climb up to places where there's no need for you there. There's has enough angels. What to do is to bring it all down into the doorway of your tent. A geweldige meis.
Is the Heidegger or the...
This one, yeah. What it means, the story goes on and on, but I think the story ends that he was just sitting there, and the Rebbe said, "Can I do anything for you?"
So meditating.
And he didn't answer him because he was thinking about this, and the Rebbe told him, "You could go now." You have to appreciate the option of a Rebbe. I met with him too. Didn't have that kind of experience.
Speaks English.
Speaks English, yeah. This conversation was in English. So they were talking about meditatsia. Anyways, the thing is like this, that what we're understanding with Nefesh Hachaim, I'm sorry I only read a few words because the concept was here, with Rav Hirsch, with Reb Tzadok, is that what's actually the avodah, that's the next step after the havana, the bina that comes after the chachma, is connecting to the higher source, but in a downward motion. This is the key. It's in a downward motion. I'm becoming more of what I was created to be, which is bringing the Shekhinah into this world. It's not an upward motion. It's not taking yourself out of this world, or it's not just a Torah. Like people get mixed up, Torah and Tefillah. They get mixed up. They're very, very close. People sit and think in Torah while they're davening. They're trying to be mefarish the words in Torah while they're davening. They do that before. The Hasidim Rishonim took an hour to get ready. But now it's lefanoi slipoi, as he says. Clear your heart. Meditation comes in, and the meditation is clear everything away. So now I can bring in, and it has to be b'chol levavchem v'chol nafshechem. There can't be anything else there. If there's anything else in your heart or in your nefesh, so your keli is not to capacity, is it? Like So it's not b'chol levavchem or b'chol nafshechem. You have to be a capacity. So capacity is take everything out which has to do with yourself, and bring everything in which has to do with bringing the Shekhinah into this world. And this is, can you imagine we do this every time we daven? It'd be gewalt. Okay, we'll pick it up on this.
What's enough, in the first bracha that we have to have kavanah? And if we don't have kavanah, then the rest of it is, but the rest of it doesn't.
The
It's
first
still
bracha,
good.
the first bracha is where you're exactly doing this. Like you were on there, you're actually talking about the whole Ishtalshus. Ishtalshus from the Shekhinah to the Elokeinu v'Elokei Avoseinu, and then to Goimel Chasadim Toivim. Bringing it, the first bracha is the whole story. You're taking it from the top all the way into this.
But the rest, when it says
That's
you don't
our
have to
personal
have
tefillah.
kavanah, what is that level that you don't, what's left to
Not
have?
that you don't have to have kavanah, but if you don't have kavanah, you're yoitz. Meaning, if you're not mechaven by Rabbi Hashem and Neiroka, you still die. Still die.
What is the title for this?